Hi, everyone. We want to thank the 3% Conference for having both of us as part of this year's event to talk about visibility for the invisible minority. I'm Jessalyn Lamb, VP of Member Development and Diversity at the Interactive Advertising Bureau, also known as IAB.
And hi, I am Bernice Chow, VP of Brand Creative at FIGS, and we are the founders of Asians in Advertising. While we both grew up on opposite coasts, Jessalyn on the east and me on the west, we realized that we had so many similarities being Asian, both in our careers and in our lives.
A little background about our Asian heritage. I'm a Chinese American born in Poughkeepsie, New York, in the Hudson Valley. I grew up surrounded by predominantly white people, and it wasn't until I moved to New York City to go to Baruch College that I was surrounded by so many different cultures. It was an eye-opening experience to open my horizons to not be the only Asian student.
And here I am with my fun perm, a Taiwanese American, second generation, born in Cupertino, California. I grew up in the heart of Silicon Valley, where Asians are predominant, and never really thought about my race and how it made me different from other Americans. That is until I entered the advertising field in a predominantly white environment, and even more so lately in light of the prevailing Asian hate. Today, we will be explaining how the Asian population within this country has been invisible, what it means to be a model minority, and why that term actually is hurtful. We will be sharing resources and actionable ways on how AAPI can advocate for themselves and how others can be an ally, and how companies can take an active role to support Asians.
And Asians are the fastest growing racial group in the country. The US Asian population is projected to reach 46 million by 2060 and is now a record high of 23 million Asian Americans. With this many people, why are Asians still invisible? Asians are invisible from the term model minority, that we are expected to do what we do well, but not so well that we stand out. The challenges and discrimination that confront Asians remain unnoticed, which is why we're advocating for visibility for the invisible minority. Here's a snapshot from the US Census for a breakdown of the US Asian population to remind everyone that we are not a monolith. Let's start with defining what it means to be a model minority. It refers to a minority group perceived as particularly successful compared to other minority groups, and that's holding Asians to a higher standard of success across academic, economic, and cultural domains.
This myth does more harm than good, because when you encompass Asians as one big bucket, you're discounting that we come from 48 different countries, over 30% of the Earth's landmass, each country with a different in governments, history, culture, and socioeconomic class, in which lots of Asians have entered America as refugees or in actually need of assistance. While Asian Americans may have the highest median income of any racial group, they also have the largest income gap of any, by over 10 times, leaving disadvantaged Asians without any assistance. Many are very surprised when I tell them that in New York City, Asians are actually the highest in terms of poverty, a staggering 26.6%.
This model minority myth hurts Asians in the workplace because we will get hired for the entry-level opportunities, but then we aren't being promoted. I've had this from personal experience where I've had bosses tell me they hired me because Asians are smart, and yet I never got promoted in those jobs. This is also known as the bamboo ceiling, a term coined by Jane Hoon, author of Breaking the Bamboo Ceiling, where she addresses barriers many Asian Americans face in the workplace when it comes to upward mobility. According to the Harvard Business Review, Asian Americans are the least likely group to be promoted to managers in America. Asians tend to become the dependable person on the team, expected to do the bulk of the grunt work without complaints, because they were taught to put their head down and work hard to succeed, but unfortunately, that does not work in our industry.
So today here, we want to talk about some ways that you can advocate for yourself. First, self-promotion. Culturally, we are not experienced in bragging about ourselves, but we are in the industry of advertising. So it's definitely important to brand yourself and make your presence known. So get good at your humble brags, talk about your accomplishments and what you're most passionate about, and how that can relate to you being the ultimate catch. Get comfortable with talking about yourself, creating that elevator pitch, and add that to your website and your LinkedIn. 2, ask for it. Don't wait for your employer to give you a shot at that brief or opportunities to present to the client, that promotion, that salary bump, etc. You can ask for these things outside of your review. Make an actionable plan with your employer as to how these things you want can be accomplished. 3, it's okay to leave. If your employer is not recognizing you or giving you the opportunities you deserve, it could be time to leave. Culturally, it's so innate for us to just be grateful for what's given to us. It feels hard to leave even if your relationship with your employer is not mutual. You're not alone in the feeling of non-employer recognition. In our leadership panel that we had, we heard from many C-suite panelists, many times where they felt the same way. I recommend you joining Coffee, an amazing fake company on LinkedIn, to help getting people of color visibility on LinkedIn. Or build your network. When you don't work with people who look like you, it's hard to see who you can become. So whether that's reaching out to those in your company, going to networking events, or like me, you can reach out to people you've admired from afar on LinkedIn and have virtual coffee. Like Bonnie Wan says, build your network of friendtors, meaning someone you may or may not work with, but also someone that can help and guide you in your career. You can always join Asians in Advertising, where we have networking component to all our events. Lastly, here's our bonus advice: pay it forward. Being that there are so few Asian leaders in the industry, it's important to get your voice out. Whether it's sharing your experiences, speaking on a panel, or mentoring, we need to be heard. There's a massive shortage of minority mentors, so be the person you needed when you were young by reaching out, being open about your experiences in the industry, and lifting up the next generation.
Now we'll move on to how to be a better ally. The first one is speak out and check in. This means to speak up for others when you see something to truly become an ally. For example, you could report hate incidents at stopaaphate.org. The number of hate incidents reported to Stop API Hate increased over 70% from March 2020 to March 2021. In addition to speaking out, make sure to check in with your AAPI family, friends, or colleagues. A simple, "Hi, I'm checking in and letting you know I see what's happening to the AAPI community. It's not okay. Let me know if you'd like to chat," will be a great way as a starting point to check in with them. Number 2, educate yourself. It's important to be a student of life and take the time to educate yourself. There are so many free resources currently available. For example, Asian Americans Advancing Justice have been offering complimentary allyship and bystander training to stop anti-Asian American harassment. You could also educate yourself on the history of Asian Americans, such as the PBS 5-part Asian American docuseries. Number 3, support and donate to AAPI organizations. Whether it's donating to Asian nonprofits or supporting Asian-owned organizations, these are some examples of being more intentional on how you could help the AAPI community. Number 4, follow AAPI leaders and publications. Evaluate the people and publications you're currently following. Make sure you're following AAPI leaders to be in the know of what's happening in the community. Moving on to how companies can get involved to take a more active role. Number 1, do not be silent. Silence can be dangerous, and you want to make sure you are acknowledging what is going on, whether that's communicating in your company town hall or sending out an email to your employees to let them know that you're there for them and you're happy to support them. Number 2, offer resources to educate your organization. Educate them by sharing actionable resources people could do in order to show that you really care. Number 3, create sustainable solutions. Make sure you're supporting your AAPI employees beyond AAPI Heritage Month. For example, you could create mentorship programs or professional development that includes them for their career growth. Number 4, amplify Asian voices to be heard. This is an opportunity for leaders to step up and shine a light on your Asian employees for their voices to be heard. Be empathetic to ask them if they feel comfortable sharing their experience and listen to what they're sharing with you instead of wanting to respond with your own story. And the last one here is leveraging employee resource groups. You do not want your Asian employees to feel a lack of belonging or access to opportunity in the workplace. This is why we encourage you to leverage or create an employee resource group for them to have a community.
Thank you so much for joining our panel today. It was so wonderful meeting everyone, and we hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to reach out to both of us on LinkedIn. If you would like to learn more about our organization, visit agensinadvertising.com, where we have plenty of resources, as well as a link to our recently launched podcast. We look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.